Valley Center City Council meeting for January 17th, 2023 is now in session. Roll call.
Mayor Cicerillo,
Here.
Councilmember Stamp,
Here.
Councilmember Evans,
Here.
Councilmember Bass,
Here.
Councilmember Anderson,
Here.
Councilmember Gregory. Here. Councilmember Kerstetter,
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Colbert.
Please, excuse me, please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, let us pray. God, we just thank you for the blessing of living in Valley Center, and I just pray that we be good stewards of it. God, I pray that tonight you would just give discernment and wisdom to all the leaders here representing all the different wards. God, I just thank you for their service to our community. God, tonight, as we discuss things, go through reports, if there be any disagreement, help us to have patience and just be charitable towards one another. But overall, just enrich our city through decisions made tonight. We love you. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Item 5, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 6, administration agenda, city council meeting minutes of January 3rd, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 3rd, 2023, regular council meeting as presented. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. All right, moving on. We have no presentations or proclamations. At this time, we are at the public forum. This is the time that we allow anybody here to speak to an item that is not on the agenda. Don't all rush up at once. No, thank you very much. Seeing none, we'll move on. We have no appointments either. We're rolling right along. What's the bets? I want to make sure.
I forgot.
Okay, good. All right, we're going to move on to old business. Item A, ordinance 1384-23, longevity.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the second reading for the longevity ordinance that expanded the length of recognition and adding the 25th and 30th years of service. Once again, this ordinance was already in place. We just added 25th and 30th years to the new employee handbook that was adopted effective January 1st.
Questions from council? There a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 1384-23 regarding longevity pay for second reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item B, approval of agreement with PEC for water master plan.
Good evening. I have revised our incorrect agreement from last meeting. Mr. Clark added a sheet in here showing the 3 proposals and some information about them, but it's the same agreement from last meeting as well. So.
Questions from council? Councilmember Kerstetter.
Mr. Clark, would you remind me what the ordinance might be the wrong word, but at PEC is not the current lowest bidder. What's our policy? Thank you, sir.
It's at the discretion of the council.
Okay.
Things no different than when we went out and we selected a hire firm when we did our strategic plan.
And there was also something with respect to a local city business too. I just didn't remember if any of that applied. And then my next question would be for either one of you. Since Burns and McDonald is actually doing the water treatment facility, are they going to have to repeat anything in this?
So we will create a water model, and data that gets produced from that model will be provided to Burns and Mac for their pumping and things that are part of the treatment.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll say, Councilmember Kurtzetter, when you're dealing with grants and especially like federal grants, state grants, then you'd have to go by the low qualifying bidder.
Okay.
Unless there's a justifiable reason to, excuse me. And so in this case, where this is coming out of, our city funds and the enterprise fund, then we'll be okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the agreement with PEC for water master plan and water model analysis in the amount not to exceed $43,500 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving along to new business, item A, request to refurbish basketball courts in Lions Park.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm with the Rec Commission. Me and Neil have been working on a project. I think we looked at it in 2000, right before COVID. We looked at refurbishing these courts, and when COVID hit, it kind of threw a wrench in things. But it's going to be refurbishing those 2 basketball courts in Lions Park and making 2 full-size pickleball courts with the right dimensions. And we'll have some benches in there, and we'll have some sidewalks that lead. We're going to add some sidewalks that lead up to those courts, and then a new fence around the project. It'll match the pool fencing and that kind of stuff. Been working with Neil on some stuff, and then the second phase would be adding lights out there when we get the funds and that kind of stuff. So the Rec Commission has already approved the resurfacing of the courts. We're trying to get on the schedule so we can get those going as soon as possible. So if we get a permission to use those courts and start working on them, we can get on the schedule and hopefully have those early as April, but get them in by May when the pool opens. So it'll be a new pool, kind of addition, new park look. So I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
One of the things that Blake was talking about, adding sidewalk up to the existing basketball courts or future pickleball courts. There would be an access for a wheelchair or curb cut there in the parking lot that would allow for wheelchair access or, disabilities or whatever, and a designated access into that area as well as off of our existing sidewalk that is on the Allen Street side. So I will just add that, again, this is a really great opportunity to partner with the Recreation Commission, and we're always excited when we can do things like this together. Pickleball courts are not something we currently have as a city facility anywhere else, and this will be a great opportunity. It's a very hot, as many of you guys know, a very hot sport right now. And I will say the majority of use, thinking about losing the basketball courts over in this area, I don't feel like it's very detrimental. This is something that we've looked at. The majority of the use on basketball courts outside really occurs up at McLaughlin Park. That's the area that gets really used heavily compared to these. So trading one for the other seems to be like a logical reason for the use over at Lions Park, and really trying to capture that demographic that over in that area that potentially could use it because it's a little more diverse.
We have a few questions, but I'd like to comment on the basketball as well. And for people that don't know, Abilene also has available basketball courts that are open to be used as well. Councilmember Anderson.
Just a point of clarification. The Rec Commission is paying for this. It's just on the park is city property. So that's why we're having this agreement with you. Will the maintenance be done, if any upkeep and maintenance be done by the Rec Commission or by the city, or have we figured that out?
We've talked about partnering, depending on what it is, and feel like we can, depending on what it is, we can work those details out as it goes.
Okay. I had discussed this with a couple of seniors who play pickleball, senior citizens, and they were very excited because currently there's nothing that's available without. Currently the only place they have to play is indoor at the intermediate school auxiliary gym. And that has to be scheduled through them. They were very excited for this. I had a couple that were concerned about losing the basketball courts, and I know that there are having other availabilities. I think this is a great opportunity for the senior, well, not just seniors, because my family's played it also, different locations, but having this in our community I think is a great asset. So thank you.
Councilmember Wilson.
Blake and Neil, were there any thoughts put into this as expansion beyond just the 2 courts? I think about the complex that they have at Douglas and Seneca in Wichita that has about 12 or 14 courts. Didn't know if there was a thought process behind that, if there would be room for expansion with this, because I know it is a very growing sport.
I think we looked at putting 3 courts in there, and it was going to be really tight. So that is something we want a lot. But we looked at putting 3 courts in, but it would have been it wouldn't have been as easy to use. The courts would have bumped right up to each other. Safety wise, it wouldn't have been best. Also, I think long term ideal is to put a few out at the new rec facility. So we'll have some at Lions Park and then maybe some more north in the coming years.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And just to kind of piggyback on Councilmember Anderson, you know, it's the other thing that I thought about was that, and that the fact that we're using Lions Park with the senior center being right there too is another plus for that. So with that said, is there any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the refurbishing the basketball court in Lions Park into 2 pickleball courts.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Item B, approval to solicit requests for proposals for Prairie Lakes Phase 3.
Good evening. I'm Jake Basha with SEH. So this phase of Prairie Lakes has already been graded. It is now above the floodplain. We are waiting for our letter of map revision from FEMA to remove the floodplain from this area. So this phase includes 24 single-family lots, as you can kind of see there. Generally, it's Gatewood Street and a little bit of Northridge extending to the east. We've submitted our plans to the city and got those reviewed, and I believe we've addressed all the comments that the city has. So,
Councilmember Anderson.
I heard you're waiting the approval from FEMA. Will this be out of the floodplain before that project is completed, as far as the drainage retention basin? Is that doesn't matter, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this was raised up regardless of what happens with the other project?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah. I have one every once in a while.
Yep.
On that note, motion to approve to solicitation of request for proposals for Phase 3 of the Prairie Lakes development.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Moving right along. Item 12, consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. I wasn't sure there if Councilmember Bass was going to like that. I don't know, maybe. Are we moving too fast for you, sir? I mean,
Back to them.
it's kind of why I was asking what the numbers were falling, because, you know, I might wanted to take a bit of. All right, so I guess we're moving on to staff reports. Have I missed anything? I don't think so. All right, Mr. Schrack.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of quick items. First, want to thank everyone that was able to join us at our Main Street meeting last Thursday evening. We had an excellent turnout with our special guests from the Lions Club and the community in general. So thank you to everyone that joined us. And just wanted to highlight one of the slides. We normally report this to council anyway, but I always like to report on your return on investment. So as you know, for the calendar year 2022, the City of Valley Center did invest $10,000 with Main Street Valley Center. Our private investment side was just right around 100,000. So that's a 1 to 10 ratio. So for every dollar the city put in, the private sector invested 10 in our downtown corridor. So I again would like to thank council for your continued support of our efforts, and we're looking forward to a very exciting 2023. Secondly, in case you haven't seen on the city's Facebook page, our new community development job position that was approved through the budgetary process last year has gone live. We are collecting applications. We'll be doing that through the 25th of this month. So this is our new code enforcement and infrastructure officer position. So this is a hybrid position where they'll be doing some code enforcement work as well as some infrastructure side on Public Works. And very excited to bring this new person on board. So in case you know of anyone that is looking for something in that field or would like to get into that field, they can submit their application through Indeed. And that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Owings. Chief Newman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I submitted my fourth quarter report from last year, so I'll stand for any questions.
Actually, it was a pretty interesting report. I did notice the fourth quarter stuff. There was a lot of drop in what we'd had for crime, and I don't have the actual page up here. Hang on a second. Which one was it? Yeah, that one. It's good to see that calls of service have fallen a little bit last year, and hopefully we can keep this going. And also outside of the increase in the larceny, that kind of surprised me. So, but overall, I was happy to see that the overall numbers have definitely come down.
The larceny and theft, that could be a candy bar or shop.
Yeah, I know. That's one of those weird categories that covers a large swath.
It does.
So. Anybody else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Eggleston.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Before I get started on my staff report, because I do have some updates to some of these pictures, Public Works was called out Saturday afternoon on a water leak over on Redbud Avenue. It was a pretty complicated leak to address, and it took longer than we expected. And I just wanted to make a sincere apology that it took that long to get restored for those folks.
Appreciate it. We know those kind of things happen, and after reading through, the list of updates and having a conversation with Mr. Clark today, I feel that the staff did, with keeping in mind that we try to keep costs down, did best they could, and then realized that it was time to do it another way. And I think you handled it pretty well. I know people are upset, but unfortunately, these kind of things happen, and there's not a whole lot we can really do about it except get it fixed as fast as we can. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Barry, could you pull up so we do have a couple updates on like the second picture where we have the precast box culvert. So today I went out to check things, and they're framing for pouring the deck. They plan to pour the deck over that box culvert by the end of this week. And then if you go to the fourth picture, down there is close to the Ford and Seneca intersection. They have that whole intersection paved at this point in time. So they have it paved down to the south, connected to the asphalt portion of South Seneca, and then they have the whole Seneca intersection paved. They the realignment of Seneca, most of that, they actually even have curb poured in that realignment and have a rock base pretty well in, getting ready for that to be paved. As I'm going, if you have any questions on any of the other ones, please stop me. The very last picture would be Cedar Ridge entrance. That entrance, they have a good portion of that paved back toward the asphalt, and basically they have the trench culvert put in there at the Seneca entrance, and they plan to get that paved over that Seneca or that trench culvert there by the end of this week. And then Arbor Valley, I went out there today, and they've gotten a long ways with that. They have the road graded down, the width. I was told they're getting ready, weather permitting, to lay rock base on that road to prepare for paving. And other than that, I would stand for questions.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
With respect to the Ford Street project, are we on schedule, ahead of schedule?
Behind schedule? You might as well add that one to it.
I was hoping on schedule would be what he said.
I would venture to say a little behind.
Okay.
I'll let-
And remind me, that's the end of this year to be done, or is it July?
In July.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. We've got so many different projects. It's,
Tell me.
yeah.
Good evening.
It's not your
They're
turn.
actively working to get back on schedule.
Okay.
Thanks, Brent.
Councilmember Wilson.
Rodney, do you foresee a speed limit change on Seneca now with that curve coming into that intersection?
I would say, yeah.
Readjustment there?
Yeah, and then with the extra housing developments coming in and whatnot, I would hope so.
Excellent, thank you.
I don't know if you remember the plans. So around that curve, it'll actually be reduced down to 25 as you come south on Seneca. As you come into the curve, it will reduce down to 25 miles an hour is what will be posted. I cannot guarantee that everyone will go by that, but that is sure what it will be designed to accommodate.
Excellent.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Shear. Mr. Vasa.
One update, since we're talking about projects, the city's project, Sunflower Valley, will have construction starting in 2 or 3 weeks, start of February. So they will be starting on the east side of Dexter Avenue, just north of Ford Street. And they'll be building sanitary sewer heading south towards Ford Street. Once they get to Ford Street, they're gonna remove that return on Dexter and Ford Street. So that intersection will be closed for construction and for about 3 weeks. So detour will be to Meridian and then back up to Clay Street to get around during that time. And then they'll head south to the other side of Ford Street, and traffic on Ford Street will remain open, but they will be building a right-hand turn lane to get into this new development area. So there'll be one lane closed while they work on that. And then they'll be all south of Ford Street from there, but you can expect that construction to be starting in 2 or 3 weeks.
Councilmember Anderson.
Do we have a way to notify residents? Are we contacting directly in that area? Are we using our city board to let them know that there's an upcoming closure and for how long?
Yeah, so best source is always one-on-one, just go meet with them. So we did knock on some doors tonight, actually, Brent and I, a couple of people right there on the corner. And then we've also had contact with the Fieldcrest. We've had contact with them, or the contractor has already, about this project.
Great, thank you.
Then yes, Councilmember Anderson, as we get closer to starting the overall project, we'll send it out through our app, post on social media and those things. Just right now, I don't want to confuse the public too much when it comes to Ford Street and this. So as soon as we have some good displays and everything that Jake will work on, we will get it out to the public.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
So we're closing Dexter and Ford?
Ford Street will always remain open at Dexter.
Thank you. That's all I needed.
Yep.
Anybody else? Thank you, sir. Mr. Arbuckle. Mr. Smith.
Like every other one.
Just a couple quick items. In our last meeting, we said we would bring back the fee resolution tonight. We found a couple more things we want to work on before we bring that back for official adoption. So that will be at a future meeting. We did hire a new city treasurer. She started today. She should be introduced at our next city council meeting. So excited to have her on board. And then hearing about all these projects reminded me we have a lot of financings to do this year with all the temporary financing we did last year with Ford Street, fire truck, and all those things. So to roll those into permanent financings and all that good stuff. So it should be a great year.
For you guys. Anybody else? Mr. Clark.
The longer you want to postpone this, that's
I could just move on to governing body reports.
I was going to be quick. K-State did jump up 20 more points in the game.
No, they did not.
Oh, sorry. Be real quick. Next Tuesday, I know we don't have a council meeting, but next Tuesday is a very special day. It is Councilmember Wilson's birthday. So happy early birthday. That's all I have. I'll stand for questions. Thank you.
Fortunately, there's no questions for you.
Happy early birthday.
Governing body reports, I have nothing. Councilmember Stam,
I have nothing.
Councilmember Evans.
I have nothing.
Hey, look, Councilmember Bass, I got you right again on the agenda.
Nothing for me.
Councilmember Anderson,
Nothing.
Councilmember Gregory.
I did attend the Sedgwick County Association of Cities meeting last Saturday. We appointed Leonard Rao from Andale for the Sedgwick County Fire District 1 Steering Council. He's a representative for Sedgwick County Association of Cities, not Valley Center specifically. That's all.
Councilmember Kerstetter,
I have nothing. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilson,
I'm good, sir.
and Councilmember Colbert.
Only got one thing, the list that I give you for legislative updates, by the next meeting, I should have a card for you that you can take and use the website. Just click on it. It runs the list down of everything that's going
Cool.
on that. If there's no other business, then I make a motion the meeting be adjourned.
The second?
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.